That's your Gap hoodie, is that right? That's you who you're shooting at?
No.
Alright, now back it up again.
That's your Gap hoodie, is that right? He hit me. That's see who he is shooting at. Those words came straight from a man caught slipping on tape, confessing way more than he ever planned to. And the wild part. This dude is basically admitting that he was one of the guys involved in setting up Young Dolph, and he keeps talking like he's got nothing to lose. He even hints that Yo Gotti's name was floating around the plan, and claims more people were involved than anyone imagined. Now the streets are buzzing because street cats do not respect anybody who starts confessing publicly, and the kind of things he said mean he might have to watch his back forever. Memphis, Tennessee is known for realness, but what happened that day hit the city in a different way. The assassination of Young Dolph wasn't just another incident, it tore through the culture, the community, and the music world all at once. This wasn't some random problem turning messy. This was something deeper, something built on years of tension, old grudges, and the kind of whispers that turn into storms. The whole city froze when it hit the news. And everybody was asking the same question. How did it reach this point? And why was it done with so much force? November 17th, 2021 became one of the darkest days in Memphis history. Young Dolph, legally named Adolph Robert Thornton Jr., is doing something he always did. Stopping by Makita's homemade butter cookies in the middle of the day to grab something he loved. There was nothing sneaky about it, nothing suspicious. Just a man supporting a local business he'd been riding for since forever. But while he walked in like normal, trouble pulled up without warning. This wasn't late-night drama or a setup in a hidden spot. This was broad daylight, in the open where everybody could see, and whoever planned it clearly didn't care who else was around. Young Dolph had built himself into a real powerhouse. He didn't lean on anybody, didn't run behind a big label, didn't bend for politics. He built Paper Route from scratch, and made sure everybody knew he stood on his own 10. To many, he wasn't just a rapper. He was the blueprint for independent success. That's why the way he was attacked hit even harder. The shooters hit him with 22 shots. 22 rounds is not an accident. That's making a statement. That's showing the world they wanted him gone for real. Surveillance cameras captured everything. 2 masked men jumped out of a white Mercedes holding heavy firepower and started shooting without hesitation. Dolph didn't even get a chance to react. He was just getting cookies, and the next moment, the whole place was surrounded by chaos. After the shooters emptied their weapons, they jumped back into the car and vanished like they had rehearsed it. Meanwhile, the city was left shattered, wondering who could carry out something this cold, and what the real motive was. Within months, they rounded up 4 men they claimed were involved. Justin Straight Drop Johnson and Cornelius Smith were accused of being the shooters, the ones who stood right there at Makita's. Then there was Hernandez Govan, who investigators say was the mastermind lining up everything behind the scenes. And lastly, Marcus Johnson, Justin's half-brother, accused of helping with the escape and collecting the money for the hit. At first, it looked like the case was moving fast, but anybody with street awareness knew something didn't add up. For men didn't feel like the full story, not with the scale of this situation. And now, with someone on tape spilling details, it's starting to look like there were more layers than anybody let on. Somebody wanted Young Dolph gone. And that became the biggest question burning through Memphis. Who pushed these guys hard enough to make them take that step? To understand how it reached this level, you gotta rewind and look at one of the most intense rivalries the city ever witnessed. This wasn't industry trash talk or petty online shade. This was real pressure between 2 giants, Young Dolph and fellow Memphis powerhouse Yo Gotti. Their beef wasn't loud for no reason. It carried years of tension, bruised pride, and situations that made the streets pay attention. This wasn't no simple disagreement. People from both sides were ready to ride out at any moment, and every time their names landed in the same conversation, everybody felt the air shift. The energy was heavy, the kind you don't play with. Things first started heating up around 2014 when Young Dolph began rising fast from the underground with his independent grind. Meanwhile, Yo Gotti, real name Mario Mims, was already sitting comfortably as a major figure in the city with his CMG movement. Word around the industry was that Gotti tried signing Dolph early on, trying to bring the young talent under his wing. On paper, it sounded like a solid business move, an established boss trying to guide a rising star, but Dolph wasn't built like that. He was in T trying to become another artist waiting for approval or stuck following somebody else's blueprint. He was building his paper route brand from scratch, moving on his own rules.
The whole world never say that when they egging on the beat. When everybody put on a song, everybody egging out, nobody don't be saying that. We feel like that right now.
Dolph wanted ownership, full control, and the freedom to stack his money without answering to anybody. And you gotta respect that mindset, especially in a game where a lot of artists fold early. But apparently, Yo Gotti didn't take the rejection lightly. Dolph claimed things took a sharp turn after he said no. In 2016, Dolph even posted online saying, "Bra went from being my Naba 1 fan and wanting to sign me to being my biggest hater." That message wasn't random. It came from a place of real disappointment, real confusion, and real tension. Dolph felt like someone who used to show him love suddenly flipped the script and started moving sideways. When somebody switches up over business and pride in the streets, things can turn dangerous quick. And once Dolph made it clear he wasn't joining CMG, the situation started turning into something deeper, something that felt less like competition and more like a silent war brewing behind the scenes. The tension didn't stay quiet for long, not even close. Once the heat started building, both rappers began firing shots through their music, and it got personal fast. By 2016, Young Dolph came with the boldest move he could make. He dropped King of Memphis, a title that directly challenged Yo Gotti's long-running claim to that crown. But things truly crossed a line in 2017 when Dolph released Play with Yo Bitch, a track aimed straight at Gotti with no filter and no mercy. That record wasn't subliminals, it was a full-on verbal attack. Dolph was claiming he had relations with the mother of Gotti's child, and he doubled down by using a Yo Gotti lookalike in the video just to mock him harder. The artwork had missed calls from Ho Gotti Baby Moma, which was the type of move that in street culture gets labeled pure disrespect. That is not something anyone shrugs off. That's the kind of violation that makes a person feel like they got TA respond beyond the studio. When pride, reputation, and street ego collide, people with access to serious muscle don't always answer with lyrics. That's when things shifted from rap problems to real street problems. Memphis is a city known for its deep street structure, heavy territorial history, and a reputation where respect carries weight. Public disses like that don't stay online, they spill into the real world. When you disrespect someone who has connections, shooters, and loyal people behind them, you're stepping into a territory where things can turn violent fast. When someone feels like their name is getting stepped on, there's always a chance somebody around them decides to handle it in the street way. And sadly, that's exactly the direction things went, not one time, but multiple times. The first major incident happened in February 2017 during CIA weekend in Charlotte, North Carolina. On February 25th, Young Dolph's bulletproof SUV got blasted with more than 100 rounds in what was clearly a coordinated setup. Whoever planned that hit wanted him gone badly enough to unload that many shots into one vehicle. The only reason Dolph walked away was because he had invested in making that truck bulletproof, and that decision saved his life. But the danger didn't end there. Just 7 months later, in September 2017, Young Dolph got shot multiple times outside the Loews Hollywood Hotel in Los Angeles. At this time, it was an TA Light situation. He was hit hard enough to leave him in critical condition, fighting to stay alive. Early reports mentioned that Yo Gotti was staying at the same hotel and was listed as a person of interest. But police later made it clear he was not considered a suspect. One of Gotti's associates, Corey McClendon, was arrested and charged with attempted murder, but he ended up beating that case too. The tension around the situation only got heavier from there.
Well, since our last interview, Justin Johnson, aka Straight Drop, got sentenced to life in prison for the murder of Young Dolph.
Yeah.
And in fact, I think they gave him another 50 years.
By the time Justin Straight dropped, Johnson's trial finally began in September 2024, almost 3 years after Dolph was taken out. The entire city of Memphis was watching. Every street-connected person, every artist, every neighborhood that loved Dolph had their eyes locked on that courtroom. This wasn't a small case involving someone unknown. This was a trial that had the potential to expose bigger names, hidden players, and secrets people had whispered about since the day Dolph was killed. Johnson was facing heavy charges: first-degree murder, conspiracy to commit first-degree murder, and being a felon in possession of a weapon. These were the type of charges that, if he got convicted, meant he'd spend the rest of his life behind bars with no chance of touching the outside again. The prosecution, led by Assistant District Attorney Paul Hagerman, came loaded with evidence. They had surveillance footage showing two masked shooters hopping out of a white Mercedes and opening fire while Dolph was inside the cookie shop. They had phone records placing Johnson and the others right in the area when everything went down.
Did you know Big Juke?
Yeah, Juke was my boy.
Oh, that was your friend.
Yeah, that was my boy.
Well, in the trial, in the Justin Johnson straight drop trial, they say that Juke had a 100K hit on Dolph.
The courtroom energy was intense, and every new detail only made the city more locked in. They had ballistics tying the weapons straight to the suspects, but the most dangerous piece of evidence, the part that really crushed Johnson, as chances came from his own co-defendant Cornelius Smith, who decided to flip and talk in exchange for a shot at a lighter sentence. When Smith started speaking, the whole courtroom shifted, because his testimony wasn't regular, it was explosive. Smith didn't just admit he played a role in the hit on Young Dolph. He started dropping names and pushing the situation way higher than anyone expected. He painted a picture of a hit that wasn't personal street beef, but something planned with bigger players involved. According to his sworn testimony, this was some random drama between small-time guys. Smith claimed the hit was ordered by Anthony Big Juke Mims, Yo Gotti's older brother, and a respected figure around the CMG circle. That allegation alone sent a shock through the courtroom. Smith testified that Big Juke allegedly put a $100,000 bag on Young Dolph. Had a full 100 bands to take out one of the biggest names in Memphis. He claimed the money was supposed to be split 3 ways, him and Justin Johnson getting 40 racks each for carrying out the hit, while Hernandez Govan, the man prosecutors labeled the Mastermind, would pocket 20 bands for coordinating the whole plan. Smith even claimed that he and Johnson sat down with Big Juke in the weeks before everything happened to talk through how the murder was supposed to go down. According to Smith, after the shooting, they hopped on FaceTime with Big Juke to confirm the job was completed. That detail alone had everybody in the courtroom staring, because if it's true, it connects the alleged hit directly to someone much higher in the hierarchy. But Smith didn't stop there. He added another layer by claiming that someone tied to CMG paid $50,000 for his legal fees after he got arrested in January 2022. He couldn't say exactly who handed over the money, but he swore it came from somebody working inside or around CMG circles. If even part of that is true, it wouldn't just be about one person calling shots. It would suggest a wider involvement and might even point to obstruction or somebody trying to protect the shooters. That's the type of thing that could stretch way up the ladder and drag in names nobody expected. The courtroom energy got intense because these weren't small accusations. These were claims that could change the whole understanding of the case. But this is where the defense started firing back. Justin Johnson's attorney Luke Evans came out swinging hard, going straight at Smith's credibility. Evans insisted that Smith was lying, or at least exaggerating everything to save himself from a life sentence.
How did you feel when Straight Drop got sentenced to the murder?
I don't feel no type of way. I don't put myself in that like that. I kill myself.
He pointed to a letter Smith allegedly sent to his family from jail, where Smith supposedly wrote that he would say anything to avoid spending his entire life behind bars. If that letter is real, it hits his testimony like a wrecking ball, because it suggests he might have been telling prosecutors exactly what they wanted to hear. Evans also highlighted all the holes in Smith's timeline, especially when it came to the money situation. Even though Smith claimed Big Juke offered 100 bands, he admitted nobody ever actually saw the money or got paid. That raised big suspicion, because if the payment never happened, was someone lying, or was the deal never real in the first place? The defense argued that Smith had every reason to stretch the truth. He was facing the same life-ending charges as Johnson and needed a lifeline. Smith testified that he was supposed to get $40,000 for his role, but admitted he only saw $800 total, $500 up front, and $300 later. That tiny payout compared to what he claimed he was promised raised even more questions about who was really funding what. But despite all the holes in his story, the jury still believed the prosecution enough to lock in a guilty verdict. On September 26, 2024, Justin Johnson was found guilty on every single count: first-degree murder, conspiracy to commit first-degree murder, and being a felon in possession of a weapon. The verdict came after the jury studied everything: surveillance footage, tracking data, cell records, and yes, even Smith's shaky testimony. And no matter how messy that testimony looked, it didn't save Johnson. He was sentenced to life in prison, which in Memphis equals a minimum of 51 years behind bars. Johnson is around 30 right now, so even if he survives the full sentence, he'd be roughly 81 before he could even breathe free air again. That basically means his days as a free man are done. But while Johnson's conviction brought some closure to Young Dolph's family and supporters, it also cracked open a whole new set of questions about who else might have been involved in the plot. If Smith's claims about Big Juke had enough weight for a jury to take them seriously, then people wanted to know who else knew what, who else played a role behind the scenes. And the loudest question of all, did Yo Gotti himself know what his brother was allegedly doing, or was he completely in the dark? There's no public evidence tying Yo Gotti directly to ordering or approving the hit. Everything centers on Big Juke, not Gotti. But the connection still matters. Big Juke was Gotti's blood brother and was heavily involved in CMG operations.
Straight Drop only got $800 for that hit. Can you imagine killing somebody and your reward is a PlayStation and maybe a game or two?
I don't know if that's true or not.
His presence in CMG wasn't small time, it was major. And then things got even more complicated when Big Juke himself got shot and killed in Memphis in January 2024. Just months before these claims about him surfaced in Johnson's trial, his death added a whole layer of mystery. Big Juke was killed outside a Memphis restaurant during a repast after a funeral, and to this day nobody has been arrested for it. People in the streets started whispering that his murder might have been retaliation for Young Dolph, maybe someone connected to Pre. Handled business, but those are just rumors with zero confirmed evidence. Still, the timing looked wild to the public and made everything feel even more tangled. What makes it even more significant is that Big Juke never got the chance to respond to Smith's allegations. He never had the chance to defend himself from claims that he put up $100,000 on Dolph's head. And because he passed before any of this was aired out in court, he also never got to tell his side, point fingers, or clear names. If he really was a major piece of the puzzle, his death silenced someone who could have explained a lot. The other big figure in this alleged setup is Hernandez Govan, the man prosecutors said organized and coordinated the whole hit. Govan pleaded not guilty and was found not guilty in August 2025. Word around the city is that Govan had close ties to both Yo Gotti and Big Juke with pictures, posts, and online clues showing he was deep inside the CMG network.
It's a messed up situation. It's a messed up situation. And the fact that both, people were getting killed on both sides. There was other shootings and murders that were happening, man.
But again, nothing publicly shows Govan and Yo Gotti working together on anything connected to the murder. The accusations aim at Govan and his relationship with Big Juke, not Gotti directly. Govan was even rumored to have turned down a plea deal, choosing instead to insist he was innocent and roll the dice with a jury. That move shocked a lot of people, because most defendants facing that type of heat usually take any reasonable deal offered. His choice to fight the case all the way made people question what he really knew and what he was trying to prove. The fourth defendant, Yamarcus Johnson, Justin Johnson's half-brother, took a plea deal in June 2023 and admitted to accessory charges, claiming he helped the shooters escape after the hit and helped handle the payment afterward. His testimony included mentions of text messages where Smith was asking about Big Juke, which seemed to support pieces of Smith's story about Big Juke's alleged role. That connection added more heat to the courtroom because those messages lined up with the narrative prosecutors were pushing.
But when it's egging on, it's all fun and games. When everybody promoting the beef against other rappers, they love it. That's the song you'll go watch, go listen to before you listen to his whole album.
But just like Smith, Yamarcus was cooperating to save himself, meaning anything he said came with a warning label. He had every reason to give prosecutors whatever helped him look better, so his words needed to be questioned carefully. Beyond these four men who were officially charged, investigators also checked possible ties between the murder and other people close to Yo Gotti, especially Black Youngsta, the CMG artist involved in the 2017 Charlotte incident. That connection alone made people raise eyebrows.
Shit, them people slanging iron, like, people hurt for that shit, so that's why I hate that rap beef. I hate it, bro, I just hate it. I ain't never seen nothing good come from it, never.
Then came another strange link in early 2022, right after Johnson and Smith got arrested. Word spread that they hired attorney Art Horn, a lawyer who had previously represented both Yo Gotti and Black Youngsta. That detail made people wonder if CMG had any involvement, or if someone from Gotti's circle was quietly helping behind the scenes.
But some records sold that the black man ain't gonna get the money for.
Horn later dropped them as clients and publicly denied being hired by CMG or anyone connected to the label, but the brief association made the situation feel even more suspicious. And that brings us to the biggest question still hanging in the air. If Big Juke truly ordered the hit on Young Dolph, was he acting alone, handling things in the street without Yo Gotti knowing? Or did Yo Gotti know something was happening, possibly even being part of the decision-making? Or was he completely unaware while his brother moved independently? Nobody has real answers because there's zero public evidence tying Gotti personally to approving anything, and with Big Juke passing away before he could be questioned, the truth might never fully come out. The lack of direct evidence and the timing of Big Juke's death left a giant hole in the story. His passing erased a perspective that could have either confirmed the allegations, denied them, or revealed a totally different angle.
You know how many people miss Dolph, man? And miss Big Juke, man? It fed a lot of people, but we just, we as on the outside looking in, we just think about that shit a couple of days and whatever else on social media after that, but they families, they children, they brothers and they cousins, them people hurt for that.
Without his voice, the pieces are stuck in place, and nobody can say what was planning, what was rumor, and what was real street talk that turned into tragedy. Another major unanswered piece centers on the allegation that someone tied to CMG paid $50,000 for Cornelius Smith's legal fees. Smith said this under oath, and if true, it would suggest involvement on a level way bigger than just Big Juke acting alone. Think about what that would mean if CMG or someone connected to it really dropped that kind of money. It could point to either a deeper role in the murder plan, or, at the very least, an organized effort to protect the people charged in the case. That type of financial help could signal loyalty, fear, or an attempt to keep someone quiet. But the details about that alleged payment are vague and murky. Smith couldn't say who exactly paid it, and there's no public paper trail proving where the money came from. And in Memphis street circles, it's not rare for associates or people connected in any way to help cover someone's legal costs, especially when serious charges are involved and there's worry someone might start talking. Sometimes it's loyalty, sometimes it's business, and sometimes it's people trying to keep the crew stable. Even if the payment really happened, it doesn't automatically prove a murder conspiracy. It just raises heavy questions the public keeps digging into. The mix of vague details, unproven claims, shifting loyalties, and missing voices makes this entire situation feel even more tangled than before. Every new detail adds another piece, but none of it locks the puzzle into a complete picture. Another troubling piece in this whole story is the huge difference between the alleged $100,000 bounty Big Juke supposedly put on Young Dolph's head and the tiny $800 Cornelius Smith says he actually received. That's not a small mismatch. That's a mind-blowing gap, barely even 1% of what he claims he was promised. If someone tells a street dude he's getting 40 racks to handle a mission, he risks everything, carries it out, and then gets handed $800, that would make anybody furious. That type of disrespect would usually make someone want to snap, or at least refuse to stay loyal to whoever shorted them. But instead of retaliating, Smith cooperated with prosecutors and testified against Johnson, all while saying he barely got paid. That raises a major question everyone keeps asking: if the people who allegedly ordered this hit truly had $100,000 ready, and supposedly even had 50 bands later to put toward legal fees, why would they short the shooters that badly? Why give someone a payment so tiny it feels like an insult? One possible explanation is that the $100,000 bounty might have been exaggerated or completely false. Another possibility is that the full payment was supposed to happen later, but things got messy after Big Juke died 2 years after the murder. Or maybe paying the complete amount would VA created a money trail that could be traced by investigators, something nobody involved wanted. There are a lot of reasons the money could have fallen apart, and none of them make the situation look clean. Whatever the real reason is, the fact that Smith only received $800 for a high-profile murder makes the whole organized operation narrative shaky. It doesn't match the picture of a well-funded, carefully planned hit run by a major figure and a major organization. If this was truly a CMG-connected setup with a full 100 bands available for the job and another 50 bands available for legal support, you'd expect the operation to look more structured, and you'd expect the shooters to actually get what they were promised. The sloppy, underpaid execution makes everything feel more like a chaotic street move than a polished industry order. That kind of inconsistency opens questions about whether Big Juke and CMG's involvement was as deep or as official as Smith claimed. It creates doubt about whether the story he told was accurate, halfway truth, or shaped to benefit his own situation. The pieces don't line up clean, and that disconnect has people debating what really happened during the planning of the hit. Then there's the January 2024 murder of Big Juke, a tragedy that added another layer of confusion and pain to an already twisted situation. Big Juke was killed outside a Memphis restaurant during a repast, with his mother reportedly present when everything happened. Another person was hit in the shooting, and even though police offered a $4,000 reward for information, nobody has been arrested, and the case remains unsolved. That silence has only made the conversation louder, because his death removed someone who could VA answered questions and either confirmed or denied everything Smith claimed in court. The targeting of Big Juke, happening barely 2 years after Young Dolph was killed, and at a time when rumors about his alleged role were already circling through Memphis streets, made a lot of people believe his death was street justice, possibly carried out by people connected to Young Dolph or Paper Route Empire. Nothing has been proven, but the timing had the entire city whispering because it felt way too close to the allegations being talked about behind the scenes. What Big Juke's death did accomplish was remove one of the most important voices who could have filled in the blanks about what really happened to Young Dolph. If he truly ordered the hit, he would have known who else, if anyone, approved the plan. Did he talk about it with his brother Yo Gotti? Did he move with the knowledge or blessing of anyone else inside CMG leadership? Or was he acting alone, using loyalty and pride as motivation while trying to defend an organization he believed in? These answers died with him, and that silence leaves a giant empty space where the truth should be. His death erased what could have been a key witness in understanding the full story. Someone who could VA explained who planned what, who agreed to what, and who needed to be held accountable for Young Dolph losing his life. Without his voice, the conspiracy surrounding Dolph's killing feels like a puzzle missing its biggest piece. The case already had unanswered questions, but losing Big Juke created a hole that may never be filled. And that leads to the bigger conversation, the deadly collision between rap culture, street loyalty, and real violence. Hip-hop fans have always had a complicated relationship with beef. On one hand, competition is part of the game. Disses, lyrical flexing, and claiming the crown have always helped build legendary moments. Artists battle for dominance, sharpen their skills, and push the culture forward with that energy. But on the other hand, when artists are tied to real street situations, gang affiliations, and people capable of actual retaliation, the stakes change fast. The line between a song and a real conflict becomes thin enough to break in an instant. What starts off as entertainment or branding can turn into actual danger when egos, reputations, and real-life crews get involved. Suddenly, it's not about music, it's about survival. Young Dolph left behind family who now have to keep going without him. Big Juke left behind people who had to watch him get killed right in front of them. And the people who carried out or organized these situations are either already in prison or will end up there their entire lives over before they even reach their older years. All of this destruction happened while the rest of the world watched from the outside, wondering how things spiraled this far. And for what? For pride? For respect? For rap territory? For loyalty to a crew or neighborhood? Reasons that seem huge in the moment but look tiny compared to what was lost. The price everyone paid is massive, and whatever anyone thought they were gaining is nothing compared to the damage that followed. The truth is, we might never fully know who was responsible for every step that led to Young Dolph's death. Too many voices gone, too many stories mixed with loyalty, fear, and rumors, and too many people who will never speak on what they know. The pieces are there, but the full picture may never be clear, and that mystery is what keeps Memphis talking even today. What we can say without any doubt is that Young Dolph's murder stands as one of the most heartbreaking losses the culture has ever seen. It wasn't just the ending of a life, it was the destruction of multiple families. Dreams and futures all wrapped inside the brutal reality of what happens when rap beef crosses paths with real street pressure. Young Dolph wasn't just another artist making noise, he was a talented creator, a sharp businessman, someone who gave back to his community, and a loved figure who fought through real struggles to build everything on his own terms. His death didn't just silence a voice, it ripped Memphis apart, took away one of the city's strongest, most inspiring faces. It took away a father, an entrepreneur, a leader, and someone who showed young artists what true independence looked like. The impact was small. It left a permanent hole in hip-hop, and a sadness in the city that still hasn't faded. And even though the people who pulled the triggers have faced consequences, the bigger questions still hang heavy over everything. Why was he really targeted? Who truly ordered the hit? More powerful figures in Memphis music scene connected in ways the public still doesn't know. These questions remain unanswered, buried under conflicting stories, missing voices, and the messy connection between music, loyalty, and street politics. And until someone steps up with the full truth, the mystery behind Dolph's death will keep haunting the culture. Thank you for watching this breakdown. This is a story the streets will never forget. If you want to dive into another wild, eye-opening case just like this one, hit one of the boxes on your screen right now and keep digging deeper into the truth with us.